the glory of kings, in praising Yahuwah, God the Father, the sustainer of the universe, and his Son Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, through whom everything came into being, and without whom nothing came into being, and the Holy Triune Spirit, the Paraclete, who goeth forth from the Father and deriveth from the Son. We believe in and adore the Trinity, one God, the Father and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. 1. Concerning the glory of kings. The interpretation and explanation of the 318 Orthodox Fathers concerning splendor and greatness and dignity, and how Yahuwah gave them to the children of Adam, and especially concerning the greatness and splendor of Zion, the tabernacle, tablet of the law of Yahuwah, of which he himself is the maker and fashioner, and the fortress of his holiness before all created things, both angels and men. For the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, with good fellowship and right goodwill and cordial agreement together, made the heavenly Zion to be the place of habitation of their glory. And then the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit said, Let us make man in our similitude and likeness, and with ready agreement and goodwill they were all of this opinion. And the Son said, I will put on the body of Adam. And the Holy Spirit said, I will dwell in the hearts of the prophets and the righteous. And this common agreement and covenant was fulfilled in Zion, the city of their glory. And David said, Remember thine agreement which thou didst make of old for salvation, the rod of thine inheritance in Mount Zion, wherein thou dost dwell. And he made Adam in his own image and likeness, so that he might remove Satan because of his pride, together with his host, and might establish Adam his own plant, together with the righteous, his children, for his praises. For the plan of God was decided upon and decreed in that he said, I will become man, and I will be in everything which I have created. I will abide in flesh. And in the days that came after, by his good pleasure, there was born in the flesh of the second Zion, the second Adam, who was our Savior, Messiah, Christ. This is our glory and our faith, our hope and our life, the second Zion. 2. Concerning the greatness of kings. Come, then, let us go back and let us consider and let us begin to state which of the things of the earth from the first even unto the last in respect of the law and the ordinances and honor and greatness we should magnify or decry. Gregory, the worker of wonders and miracles, who was cast into a cave because of his love for the martyrdom of Messiah, and suffered tribulation for 15 years, said, When I was in the pit, I pondered over this matter and over the folly of the kings of Armenia. And I said, in so far as I can conceive it, in what doth the greatness of kings consist? Is it in the multitude of soldiers, or in the splendor of worldly possessions, or in extent of rule over cities and towns? This was my thought each time of my prayer, and my thought stirred me again and again to meditate upon the greatness of kings. And now I will begin. 3. Concerning the kingdom of Adam. And I go up from Adam, and I say, Yahuwah, God, is king in truth. For him praise is meet, and he appointed unto him Adam to be king over all that he had created. And he drove him out of the garden because of his apostasy through the sin of the serpent and the plotting of the devil. And at that sorrowful moment Cain was born. And when Adam saw that the face of Cain was ill-tempered or sullen, and his appearance evil, he was sad. And then Abel was born. And when Adam saw that his appearance was good, and his face good-tempered, he said, This is my son, the heir of my kingdom. 4. Concerning envy. And when they had grown up together, Satan had envy of him, And he cast this envy into the heart of Cain, who was envious of Abel, first because of the words of his father Adam, who said, He who hath the good-tempered face shall be the heir of my kingdom. And secondly, because of his sister with a beautiful face, who was born with him, and who had been given unto Abel, even as Yahuwah commanded them to multiply and fill the earth. Now the face of the sister who had been born with Abel resembled that of Cain, and their father had transferred them, i.e. the two sisters, when given them in marriage. And thirdly, because when the two brothers offered up sacrifice, Yahuwah accepted the offering of Abel and rejected the offering of Cain. And because of this envy, Cain killed Abel. Thus fratricide was first created through Satan's envy of the children of Adam. And having killed his brother, Cain fell into a state of trembling and horrible fright, and he was repulsed by his father and his Lord. And then Seth was born. And Adam looked upon him and said, Now hath Yahuwah shown compassion upon me, and he hath given unto me the light of my face. In sorrowful remembrance I will console myself with him. The name of him that will slay my heir shall be blotted out, even to his 9th generation. 5. Concerning the kingdom of Seth. And Adam died, and Seth reigned in righteousness, and Seth died. And Enos reigned, and Enos died. And Canaan reigned, and Canaan died. And Mahalalel reigned, and Mahalalel died. And Jared reigned, and Jared died. And Enoch reigned in righteousness, and he feared Yahuwah, and Yahuwah hid him so that he might not see death. And he became a king in his flesh in the land of the living. And after Enoch disappeared, Methuselah reigned, and Methuselah died. And Lamech reigned, and Lamech died. And Noah reigned in righteousness, and he pleased Yahuwah in all his works. 6. Concerning the sin of Cain. And that accursed man Cain, the murderer of his brother, multiplied evil, and his seed did likewise. And they provoked Yahuwah to wrath with their wickedness. They had not the fear of Yahuwah before their eyes, and they never kept in mind that he had created them, and they never prayed to him, and they never worshipped him, and they never called upon him, and they never rendered service to him in fear. Nay, they ate and they drank and they danced and they played upon stringed instruments and sang lewd songs thereto, and they worked uncleanness without law, without measure, and without rule. And the wickedness of the children of Cain multiplied, until at length in the greatness of their filthiness they introduced the seed of the ass into the mare, and the mule came into being, which Yahuwah had not commanded, even like those who give their children who are believers unto those who denied Yahuwah, and their offspring become the seed of the filthy Gomorites, 1/2 of them being of good, and 1/2 of them of evil seed. And as for those who do this wickedness, their judgment is ready, and their error in lasting. 7. Concerning Noah. Now Noah was a righteous man. He feared Yahuwah and kept the righteousness and the law which his fathers had declared unto him. Now Noah was the 10th generation from Adam, and he kept in remembrance and did what was good, and he preserved his body from fornication, and he admonished his children, bidding them not to mingle with the children of Cain, the arrogant tyrant, the divider of the kingdom, who walked in the counsel of the devil, who maketh evil to flourish. And he taught them everything that Yahuwah hated: pride, boastfulness of speech, self-adulation, calumniation, false accusation, and the swearing of false oaths. And besides these things, in the wickedness of their uncleanness, which was unlawful and against rule, man wrought pollution with man, and woman worked with woman the abominable thing. 8. Concerning the flood. And this thing was evil before Yahuwah, and he destroyed them with the water of the flood, which was colder than ice. He opened the doors of heaven, and the cataracts of the flood poured down. And he opened the fountains that were under the earth, and the fountains of the flood appeared on the earth. And the sinners were blotted out, for they reaped the fruit of their punishment. And with them perished all beasts and creeping things, for they were all created for the gratification of Adam, and for his glory, some to provide him with food, and some for his pleasure, and some for the names to the glorification of his Creator, so that he might know them, even as David said, and thou hast set everything under his feet. For his sake they were created, and for his sake they were destroyed, with the exception of 8 souls, and 7 of every kind of clean beast and creeping things, and 2 of every kind of unclean beast and creeping thing. 9. Concerning the covenant of Noah. And then Noah the righteous man died, and Shem reigned in wisdom and righteousness, for he was blessed by Noah, saying, Be God to thy brother. And to Ham he said, Be servant to thy brother. And he said unto Japheth, Be thou servant to Shem my heir, and be thou subject unto him. And again after the flood, the devil, our enemy, did not cease from his hostility against the children of Noah, but stirred up Canaan, the son of Ham, and he became the violent tyrant or usurper, who rent the kingdom from the children of Shem. Now they had divided the earth among them, and Noah had made them swear by the name of his God, that they would not encroach on each other's boundaries, and would not eat the beast that had died of itself, or had been rent by wild animals, and that they would not cultivate harlotry against the law, lest God should again become angry with them and punish them with a flood. And as for Noah, he humbled himself and offered up sacrifice, and he cried out and groaned and wept. And Yahuwah held converse with Noah, who said unto him, If thou wilt destroy the earth a second time with a flood, blot thou me out with those who are to perish. And Yahuwah said unto him, I will make a covenant with thee, that thou shalt tell thy children, they shall not eat the beast that hath died of itself, or that hath been torn by wild beasts, and they shall not cultivate harlotry against the law. And I, on my part, covenant that I will not destroy the earth a second time with a flood, and that I will give unto thy children winter and summer, seed time and harvest, autumn and spring. 10. Concerning Zion. And I swear by myself and by Zion, the tabernacle of my covenant, which I have created for a mercy seat, and for the salvation of men. And in the latter days I will make it to come down to thy seed, that I will have pleasure in the offerings of thy children upon earth. And the tabernacle of my covenant shall be with them forever. And when a cloud hath appeared in the sky, so that they may not fear and may not imagine that a flood is coming, I will make to come down from my habitation of Zion the bow of my covenant, that is to say, the rainbow, which shall crown the tabernacle of my law. And it shall come to pass that when their sins multiply, and I am wishful to be wrought with them, I will remember the tabernacle of my covenant, and I will set the rainbow in the sky, and I will put away mine anger, and will send my compassion, and I will not forget my word. And that which hath gone forth from my mouth I will not overlook. Though heaven and earth pass away, my word shall not pass away. And the archbishops who were there answered and said to the blessed Gregory, Behold, now we understand clearly that before every created thing, even the angels, and before the heavens and the earth, and before the pillars of heaven and the abysses of the sea, he created the tabernacle of the covenant. And this which is in heaven goeth about upon the earth. 11. The unanimous declaration of the 318 Orthodox Fathers. And they answered and said unto him, Yea, verily the tabernacle of the covenant was the first thing to be created by him. And there is no lie in thy word. It is true and correct and righteous and unalterable. He created Zion before everything else to be the habitation of his glory, and the plan of his covenant was that which he said, I will put on the flesh of Adam, which is of the dust, and I will appear unto all those whom I have created with my hand and with my voice. And if it had been that the heavenly Zion had not come down, and if he had not put on the flesh of Adam, then Yahuwah, the Word, would not have appeared, and our salvation would not have taken place. The testimony or proof is in the similitude. The heavenly Zion is to be regarded as the similitude of the mother of the Redeemer, Mary. For in the Zion which is builded there are deposited the 10 words of the law, which were written by his hands. And he himself, the Creator, dwelt in the womb of Mary, and through him everything came into being. 12. Concerning Canaan. Now it was Canaan who rent the kingdom from the children of Shem, and he transgressed the oath which his father Noah had made them to swear. And the sons of Canaan were 7 mighty men, and he took 7 mighty cities from the land of Shem, and set his sons over them. And likewise he also made his own portion double. And in latter days Yahuwah took vengeance upon the sons of Canaan, and made the sons of Shem to inherit their country. These are the nations whom they inherited: the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, the Jebusites, and the Girgasites. These are they whom Canaan seized by force from the seed of Shem. For it was not right for him to invade his kingdom and to falsify the oath. And because of this they ceased to be, and their memorial perished through transgressing God's command and worshiping idols and bowing down to those who were not gods. And after the death of Shem, Arphaxad reigned, and after the death of Arphaxad, Canaan reigned, and after the death of Canaan, Salah reigned, and after him Eber reigned, and after him Peleg reigned, and after him Ragaru reigned, and after him Sarug reigned, and after him Nahor reigned, and after him Terah reigned. And these are they who made magical images, and they went to the tombs of their fathers and made an image or picture of gold and silver and brass, and a devil used to hold converse with them out of each of the images of their fathers, and say unto them, O my son, so and so, offer up unto me as a sacrifice the son whom thou lovest. And they slaughtered their sons and their daughters to the devils, and they poured out innocent blood to filthy devils. 13. Concerning Abraham. And Terah begat a son, and called him Abraham, or Abram. And when Abraham was 12 years old, his father Terah sent him to sell idols. And Abraham said, These are not gods that can make deliverance. And he took away the idols to sell, even as his father had commanded him. And he said unto those unto whom he would sell them, Do ye wish to buy gods that cannot make deliverance, things made of wood and stone and iron and brass, which the hand of an artificer hath made? And they refused to buy the idols from Abraham, because he himself had defamed the images of his father. And as he was returning, he stepped aside from the road, and he set the images down and looked at them, and said unto them, I wonder now, if ye are able to do what I ask you at this moment, and whether ye are able to give me bread to eat or water to drink. And none of them answered him, for they were pieces of stone and wood. And he abused them and heaped revilings upon them, and they spake never a word. And he buffeted the face of one and kicked another with his feet, and a third he knocked over and broke to pieces with stones. And he said unto them, if ye are unable to deliver yourselves from him that buffeted you, and ye cannot requite with injury him that injured you, how can ye be called gods? Those who worship you do so in vain. And as for myself, I utterly despise you, and ye shall not be my gods. Then he turned his face to the east, and he stretched out his hands and said, be thou my God, O Lord, creator of the heavens and the earth, creator of the sun and the moon, creator of the sea and the dry land, maker of the majesty of the heavens and the earth, and of that which is visible and that which is invisible. O maker of the universe, be thou my God. I place my trust in thee, and from this day forth I will place my trust in no other save thyself. And then there appeared unto him a chariot of fire, which blazed, and Abraham was afraid and fell on his face on the ground. And Yahuwah said unto him, fear thou not, stand upright. And he removed fear from him. 14. Concerning the covenant of Abraham. And Yahuwah held converse with Abram, and he said unto him, fear thou not. From this day thou art my servant, and I will establish my covenant with thee, and with thy seed after thee. And I will multiply thy seed, and I will magnify thy name exceedingly. And I will bring down the tabernacle of my covenant upon the earth 7 generations after thee. And it shall go round about with thy seed, and shall be salvation unto thy race. And afterwards I will send my word for the salvation of Adam and his sons forever. And at this moment these who are of thy kinsmen are evil men or rebels, and my divinity which is true they have rejected. And as for thee, that day by day they may not seduce thee, come, get thee forth out of this land, the land of thy fathers, into the land which I will show thee, and I will give it unto thy seed after thee. And Abram made obedience to Yahuwah, and was subject to his God. And Yahuwah said unto him, thy name shall be Abraham. And he gave him the salutation of peace, and went up into heaven. And Abraham returned to his abode, and he took Sarah his wife, and went forth, and did not go back to his father, and his mother, and his house, and his kinsfolk. And he forsook them all for Yahuwah's sake. And he arrived in the city of Salem, and dwelt there, and reigned in righteousness, and did not transgress the commandment of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah blessed him exceedingly, and at length he possessed stalwart servants who were trained in war, and who stood before him, and performed his will. And they were tunics richly embroidered with gold, and they had chains of gold about their necks, and belts of gold round their loins, and they had crowns of gold on their heads. And by means of these men Abraham vanquished his foe, and he died in glory in Yahuwah, and was more gracious and excellent than those who were before him. He was gracious, and held in honor, and highly esteemed. Concerning Isaac and Jacob. And Isaac his son became king, and he did not transgress the commandment of Yahuwah. And he was pure in his soul and in his body, and he died in honor. And his son Jacob reigned, and he also did not transgress the commandment of Yahuwah. And his possessions became numerous, and his children were many, and Yahuwah blessed him, and he died in honor. 16. Concerning Reuben. And after him Jacob's firstborn son transgressed the commandment of Yahuwah, and the kingdom departed from him, and from his seed, because he had defiled his father's wife. Now it is not right to transgress the law which Yahuwah hath commanded. And his father cursed him, and Yahuwah was wroth with him, and he became the least among his brethren. And his children became leprous and scabby. And although he was the firstborn son of Jacob, the kingdom was rent from him. And his younger brother reigned, and he was called Judah because of this. And his seed was blessed, and his kingdom flourished, and his sons were blessed. And after him Pharez, his son, reigned, and he died. And Hezron, his son, reigned. And after him his son, Oran, reigned. And after him Aram, his son, reigned. And after him Aminadab, his son, reigned. And after him Naasson, his son, reigned. And after him Salmon, his son, reigned. And after him Boaz, his son, reigned. And after him Obed, his son, reigned. And after him Jesse, his son, reigned. And this is what I say concerning the kingdom. The blessing of the Father was on the Son, so that it, i.e. the kingdom, was blessed with prosperity. And as for the kingship over Israel, after the death of Jesse, David reigned in righteousness and in integrity and in graciousness. 17. Concerning the glory of Zion. And as concerning Zion, the tabernacle of the law of Yahuwah, at the very beginning, as soon as Yahuwah had established the heavens, he ordained that it should become the habitation of his glory upon the earth. And willing this, he brought it down to the earth, and permitted Moses to make a likeness of it. And he said unto him, Make an ark or tabernacle of wood that cannot be eaten by worms, and overlay it with pure gold. And thou shalt place therein the word of the law, which is the covenant that I have written with mine own fingers, that they may keep my law, the 2 tables of the covenant. Now the heavenly and spiritual original within it is of divers colors, and the work thereof is marvelous, and it resembleth jasper, and the sparkling stone, and the topaz, and the hyacinth stone, and the crystal, and the light, and its catcheth the eye by force, and it astonished the mind, and stupefieth it with wonder. It was made by the mind of Yahuwah, and not by the hand of the artificer man, but he himself created it for the habitation of his glory. And it is a spiritual thing, and is full of compassion. It is a heavenly thing, and it is full of light. It is a thing of freedom, and a habitation of the Godhead, whose habitation is in heaven, and whose place of movement is on the earth. And it dwelleth with men and with the angels, a city of salvation for men, and for the Holy Spirit of habitation. And within it are a gomer of gold, containing a measure of the manna which come down from heaven, and the rod of Aaron which sprouted after it had become withered, though no one watered it with water. And one had broken it in 2 pieces, and it became 3 rods, being originally only 1 rod. And Moses covered the ark with pure gold, and he made for it poles wherewith to carry it, and rings in which to place them. And they carried it before the people, until they brought it into the land of their inheritance, which is Jerusalem, the city of Zion. And when they were crossing the Jordan, and the priests were carrying it, the water stood upright like a wall, until all the people had passed over. And after all the people had passed over, the priests passed over bearing the ark, and they set it down in the city of Judah, the land of their inheritance. And prophets were appointed over the children of Israel in the tabernacle of testimony. And the priests wore the ephod, so that they might minister to the tabernacle of testimony. And the high priest offered up offerings, so that they might obtain remission of their own sins, and of the sins of the people likewise. And Yahuwah commanded Moses and Aaron to make holy vessels for the tabernacle of testimony, for the furnishing of the Holy of Holies, namely vessels of gold, bowls and pots, pitchers and sacred tables, netted cloths and tops for pillows, lamps and vessels for filling them, torch holders with snuffers, tongs, candlesticks, and rings, and rods for carrying them, large bowls and lavers, embroidered curtains and hangings, crowns and worked vestments, purple cloths and leather work, carpets and draperies, unguents for anointing priests and kings, hyacinth and purple hangings, rugs of double thickness and hangings of silk, skins of kids and red hides of rams, and sardius stones and rubies and sapphires and emeralds, and to place them in the tabernacle of witness, where dwelleth Zion, the habitation of his glory. And Yahuwah told them to make for it the belly of a ship with the 2 tables which were written by the fingers of Yahuwah. Zion shall rest upon them, and thou shalt make for it a tabernacle of wood that the worms cannot eat, whereon Zion shall rest. 2 cubits and half a cubit shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and half a cubit the breadth thereof. And thou shalt cover it with pure gold, both the outside thereof and the inside thereof. And thou shalt make the fittings and the cover thereof of fine gold. And there shall be rings round about it. And thou shalt make in the 4 sides 4 holes for the carrying poles. And thou shalt make it of wood, that the worms cannot eat, and thou shalt cover it with pure gold. And in this ye shall carry the tabernacle of the law. In this wise did Yahuwah command Moses on Mount Sinai, and he showed him the works thereof, and the construction and the pattern of the tent, according to which he was to make it. And it, i.e. Zion, was revered, and had exceedingly great majesty in Israel. And it was acknowledged by Yahuwah to be the habitation of his glory. And he himself came down on the mountain of his holiness, and he held converse with his chosen ones. And he opened to them a way of salvation, and he delivered them from the hand of their enemies. And he spake with them from the pillar of cloud, and commanded them to keep his law and his commandments, and to walk in the precepts of Yahuwah. 18. How the Orthodox fathers and bishops agree. And again the council of the 318 answered and said, Amen. This is the salvation of the children of Adam. For since the tabernacle of the law of Yahuwah hath come down, they shall be called men of the house of Yahuwah, even as David saith, and his habitation is in Zion. And again he said by the mouth of the Holy Ghost, and by habitation is here, for I have chosen it, and I will bless her priests, and I will make her poor to be glad. And unto David will I give seed in her, and upon the earth one who shall become king. And moreover in the heavens one from his seed shall reign in the flesh upon the throne of the Godhead. And as for his enemies, they shall be gathered together under his footstool, and they shall be sealed with his seal. 19. How this book came to be found. And Demetrius, the Archbishop of Rome, i.e. Constantinople, Byzantium, said, I have found in the church of St. Sophia among the books and the royal treasures a manuscript which stated that the whole kingdom of the world belonged to the Emperor of Rome and the Emperor of Ethiopia. 20. Concerning the division of the earth. From the middle of Jerusalem, and from the north thereof to the southeast is the portion of the Emperor of Rome. And from the middle of Jerusalem, from the north thereof to the south, and to the western India is the portion of the Emperor of Ethiopia. For both of them are of the seed of Shem, the son of Noah, the seed of Abraham, the seed of David, the children of Solomon. For Yahuwah gave the seed of Shem glory because of the blessing of their father Noah. The emperor of Rome is the son of Solomon, and the emperor of Ethiopia is the firstborn and eldest son of Solomon. 21. Concerning the Queen of the South. And how this queen was born, I have discovered written in that manuscript, and in this manner also doth the evangelist mention that woman, and our Messiah Yahushua HaMashiach, Lord Jesus Christ, in condemning the Jewish people, the crucifiers who lived at that time spake, saying, the Queen of the South shall rise up on the day of judgment, and shall dispute with, and condemn, and overcome this generation, who will not hearken unto the preaching of my word. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And the Queen of the South, of whom he spake, was the Queen of Ethiopia. And in the words ends of the earth, he maketh allusion to the delicacy of the constitution of women, and the long distance of the journey, and the burning heat of the sun, and the hunger on the way, and the thirst for water. And this Queen of the South was very beautiful in face, and her statue was superb, and her understanding and intelligence, which Yahuwah had given her, were of such high character, that she went to Jerusalem to hear the wisdom of Solomon. Now this was done by the command of Yahuwah, and it was his good pleasure. And moreover, she was exceedingly rich, for Yahuwah had given her glory, and riches, and gold, and silver, and splendid apparel, and camels, and slaves, and trading men, or merchants. And they carried on her business, and trafficked for her by sea and by land, and in India, and in Ashwan, Sian. (22) Concerning Tamron the merchant. And there was a certain wise man, the leader of a merchant's caravan, whose name was Tamron. And he used to load 520 camels, and he possessed about 73 ships. Now at that time King Solomon wished to build the house of Yahuwah, and he sent out messages among all the merchants in the east and in the west and in the north and in the south, bidding the merchants come and take gold and silver from him, so that he might take from them whatsoever was necessary for the work. And certain men reported to him concerning this rich Ethiopian merchant, and Solomon sent to him a message, and told him to bring whatsoever he wished from the country of Arabia, red gold and black wood, that could not be eaten by worms, and sapphires. And that merchant, whose name was Tamron, the merchant of the Queen of Ethiopia, went to Solomon the king, and Solomon took whatsoever he desired from him, and he gave to the merchant whatsoever he wished for in great abundance. Now that merchant was a man of great understanding, and he saw and comprehended the wisdom of Solomon, and he marveled thereat, and he watched carefully, so that he might learn how the king made answer by his word, and understand his judgment, and the readiness of his mouth, and the discreetness of his speech, and the manner of his life, and his sitting down, and his rising up, and his occupations, and his love, and his administration, and his table, and his law. To those to whom Solomon had to give orders, he spake with humility and graciousness. And when they had committed a fault, he admonished them gently. For he ordered his house in the wisdom and fear of Yahuwah, and he smiled graciously on the fools, and set them on the right road. And he dealt gently with the maidservants. He opened his mouth in parables, and his words were sweeter than the purest honey. His whole behavior was admirable, and the whole aspect pleasant. For wisdom is beloved by men of understanding, and is rejected by fools. And when that merchant had seen all these things, he was astonished, and he marveled exceedingly. For those who were wont to see Solomon held him in complete affection, and he became their teacher. And because of his wisdom and excellence, those who had once come to him did not wish to leave him and go away from him. And the sweetness of his words was like water to the man who is athirst, and like bread to the hungry man, and like healing to the sick man, and like apparel to the naked man. And he was like a father to the orphans, and he judged with righteousness, and accepted the person of no man, i.e., he was impartial. He had glory and riches, which Yahuwah had given unto him in great abundance, namely gold and silver, and precious stones, and rich apparel, and cattle, and sheep, and goats innumerable. Now in the days of Solomon the king, gold was as common as bronze, and silver as lead, and bronze and lead and iron was as abundant as the grass of the fields and the reeds of the desert. And cedar wood was also abundant. And Yahuwah had given unto him glory and riches and wisdom and grace in such abundance that there was none like unto him among his predecessors, and among those who came after him there was none like unto him. 23. How the merchant returned to Ethiopia. And it came to pass that the merchant Tamron wished to return to his own country, and he went to Solomon and bowed low before him, and embraced him, and said unto him, Peace be to thy majesty. Send me away, and let me depart to my country, to my lady. For I have tarried long in beholding thy glory and thy wisdom, and the abundance of dainty meats wherewith thou hast regaled me. And now I will depart to my lady. Would that I could abide with thee, even as one of the very least of thy servants. For blessed are they who hear thy voice, and perform thy commands. Would that I could abide here, and never leave thee. But thou must send me away to my lady, because of what hath been committed to my charge, so that I may give unto her property. And as for myself, I am her servant. And Solomon went into his house, and gave unto him whatever valuable thing he desired for the country of Ethiopia, and he sent him away in peace. And Tamron bade him farewell, and went forth, and journeyed along his road, and came to his lady, and delivered over to her all the possessions which he had brought. And he related unto her how he had arrived in the country of Judah and Jerusalem, and how he had gone into the presence of Solomon the king, and all that he had heard and seen. And he told her how Solomon administered just judgment, and how he spake with authority, and how he decided rightly in all the matters which he inquired into, and how he returned soft and gracious answers, and how there was nothing false about him, and how he appointed inspectors over the 700 woodmen who hauled the timber, and the 800 masons who hewed the stone, and how he sought to learn from all the merchants and dealers concerning the cunning craft and the working thereof, and how he received information and imparted it twofold, and how all his handicraft and his works were performed with wisdom. And each morning Tamron related to the queen about all the wisdom of Solomon, how he administered judgment and did what was just, and how he ordered his table, and how he made feasts, and how he taught wisdom, and how he directed his servants, and all his affairs on a wise system, and how they went on their errands at his command, and how no man defrauded another, and how no man purloined the property of his neighbor, and how there was neither a thief nor a robber in his days. For in his wisdom he knew those who had done wrong, and he chastised them and made them afraid, and they did not respect their evil They did not repeat their evil deeds, but they lived in a state of peace, which had mingled therein the fear of the king. All these things did Tamron relate unto the queen, and each morning he recalled the things that he had seen with the king, and described them unto her. And the queen was struck dumb with wonder at the things that she heard from the merchant her servant. And she thought in her heart that she would go to him, and she wept by reason of the greatness of her pleasure in those things that Tamron had told her. And she was exceedingly anxious to go to him. But when she pondered upon the long journey, she thought that it was too far and too difficult to undertake. And time after time she asked Tamron questions about Solomon. And time after time Tamron told her about him. And she became very wishful and most desirous to go, that she might hear his wisdom and see his face and embrace him and petition his royalty. And her heart inclined to go to him. For Yahuwah had made her heart inclined to go, and had made her to desire it. 24. How the queen made journey to set out on her journey. She made ready. How the queen made ready to set out on her journey. And the queen said unto them, Hearken, O ye who are my people, and give ye ear to my words, for I desire wisdom, and my heart seeketh to find understanding. I am smitten with the love of wisdom, and I am constrained by the cords of understanding. For wisdom is far better than treasure of gold and silver, and wisdom is the best of everything that hath been created on the earth. Now unto what under the heavens shall wisdom be compared? It is sweeter than honey, and it maketh one to rejoice more than wine, and it illumined more than the sun, and it is to be loved more than precious stones, and it fattened more than oil, and it satisfieth more than dainty meats, and it giveth a man more renown than thousands of gold and silver. It is a source of joy for the heart, and a bright and shining light for the eyes, and a giver of speed to the feet, and a shield for the breast, and a helmet for the head, and chain work for the neck, and a belt for the loins. It maketh the ears to hear, and hearts to understand. It is a teacher of those who are learned, and it is a counselor of those who are discreet and prudent, and it giveth fame to those who seek after it. And as for a kingdom, it cannot stand without wisdom, and riches cannot be preserved without wisdom. The foot cannot keep the place wherein it hath set itself without wisdom. And without wisdom that which the tongue speaketh is not acceptable. Wisdom is the best of all treasures. He who heaped up gold and silver doth so to no profit without wisdom. But he who heapeth up wisdom, no man can fetch it from his heart. That which fools heap up, the wise consume. And because of the wickedness of those who do evil, the righteous are praised. And because of the wicked acts of fools, the wise are beloved. Wisdom is an exalted thing and a rich thing. I will love her like a mother, and she shall embrace me like her child. I will follow the footprints of wisdom, and she shall protect me forever. I will seek after wisdom, and she shall be with me forever. I will follow her footprints, and she shall not cast me away. I will lean upon her, and she shall be unto me a wall of adamant. I will seek asylum with her, and she shall be unto me power and strength. I will rejoice in her, and she shall be unto me abundant grace. For it is right for us to follow the footprints of wisdom, and for the soles of our feet to stand upon the threshold of the gates of wisdom. Let us seek her, and we shall find her. Let us love her, and she will not withdraw herself from us. Let us pursue her, and we shall overtake her. Let us ask, and we shall receive. And let us turn our hearts to her, so that we may never forget her. If we remember her, she will have us in remembrance. And in connection with fools thou shalt not remember wisdom, for they do not hold her in honor, and she doth not love them. The honoring of wisdom is the honoring of the wise man, and the loving of wisdom is the loving of the wise man. Love the wise man, and withdraw not thyself from him, and by the sight of him thou shalt become wise. Hearken to the utterance of his mouth, so that thou mayest become like unto him. Watch the place whereon he hath set his foot, and leave him not, so that thou mayest receive the remainder of his wisdom. And I love him merely on hearing concerning him, and without seeing him. And the whole story of him that hath been told me is to me as the desire of my heart, and like water to the thirsty man. And her nobles and her slaves and her handmaidens and her counselors answered and said unto her, O our lady, as for wisdom, it is not lacking in thee, and it is because of thy wisdom that thou lovest wisdom. And as for us, if thou goest, we will go with thee, and if thou sittest down, we will sit down with thee. Our death shall be with thy death, and our life with thy life. Then the queen made ready to set out on her journey with great pomp and majesty, and with great equipment and many preparations. For by the will of Yahuwah her heart desired to go to Jerusalem, so that she might hear the wisdom of Solomon. For she had hearkened eagerly, so she made ready to set out. And 797 camels were loaded, and mules and asses innumerable were loaded. And she set out on her journey, and followed her road without pause. And her heart had confidence and Yahuwah. How the queen came to Solomon the king. And she arrived in Jerusalem and brought to the king very many precious gifts which he desired to possess greatly. And he paid her great honor and rejoiced, and he gave her a habitation in the royal palace near him. And he sent her food both for the morning and evening meal, each time 15 measures by the curl of finely ground white meal, cooked with oil and gravy and sauce in abundance, and 30 measures by the korah of crushed white meal, wherefrom bread for 350 people was made, with the necessary platters and trays, and 10 stalled oxen, and 5 bulls, and 50 sheep without counting, the kids and deer and gazelles and fatted fowls, and a vessel of wine containing 60 garat measures, and 30 measures of old wine, and 25 singing men, and 25 singing women, and the finest honey and rich sweets, and some of the food which he himself ate, and some of the wine whereof he drank. And every day he arrayed her in 11 garments, which bewitched the eyes. And he visited her and was gratified. And she visited him and was gratified. And she saw his wisdom and his just judgments, and his splendor and his grace, and heard the eloquence of his speech. And she marveled in her heart, and was utterly astonished in her mind. And she recognized in her understanding, and perceived very clearly with her eyes how admirable he was. And she wondered exceedingly, because of what she saw and heard with him, how perfect he was in composure, and wise in understanding, and pleasant in graciousness, and commanding in stature. And she observed the subtlety of his voice, and the discreet utterance of his lips, and that he gave his commands with dignity, and that his replies were made quietly, and with the fear of Yahuwah. All these things she saw, and she was astonished at the abundance of his wisdom. And there was nothing whatsoever wanting in his word and speech, but everything that he spake was perfect. And Solomon was working at the building of the house of Yahuwah, and he rose up and went to the right and to the left, and forward and backward, and he showed the workmen the measurement and weight and the space covered by the materials. And he told the workers in metal how to use the hammer and the drill and the chisel. And he showed the stone masons the angle measure and the circle and the surface measure, and everything was wrought by his order. And there was none who set himself in opposition to his word. For the light of his heart was like a lamp in the darkness, and his wisdom was as abundant as the sand. And of the speech of the beasts and the birds there was nothing hidden from him. And he forced the devils to obey him by his wisdom. And he did everything by means of the skill which Yahuwah gave him when he made supplication to him. For he did not ask for victory over his enemy, and he did not ask for riches and fame, but he asked Yahuwah to give him wisdom and understanding, whereby he might rule his people and build his house and beautify the work of Yahuwah, and all that he had given him in wisdom and understanding. How the king held converse with the queen. And the queen Makeda spake unto King Solomon, and saying, Blessed art thou, my lord, in that such wisdom and understanding have been given unto thee. For myself I only wish that I could be as one of the least of thine handmaidens, so that I could wash thy feet, and hearken to thy wisdom, and apprehend thy understanding, and serve thy majesty, and enjoy thy wisdom. Oh, how greatly have pleased me by answering, and the sweetness of thy voice, and the beauty of thy going, and the graciousness of thy words, and the readiness thereof. The sweetness of thy voice maketh the heart to rejoice, and maketh the bones fat, and giveth courage to hearts, and goodwill and grace to the lips, and strength to the gait. I look upon thee, and I see that thy wisdom is immeasurable, and thine understanding inexhaustible, and that it is like unto a lamp in the darkness, and like unto a pomegranate in the garden, and like unto a pearl in the sea, and like unto the morning star among the stars, and like unto the light of the moon in the midst, and like unto a glorious dawn and sunrise in the heavens. And I give thanks unto him that brought me hither, and showed thee to me, and made me to tread upon the threshold of thy gate, and made me to hear thy voice. And King Solomon answered and said unto her, Wisdom and understanding spring from thee thyself. As for me, I only possess them in the measure in which the God of Israel hath given them to me, because I asked and entreated them from him. And thou, though thou dost not know the God of Israel, hast this wisdom, which thou hast made to grow in thine heart, and it hath made thee come to see me, the vassal and slave of my God, and the building of his sanctuary, which I am establishing, and wherein I serve and move round about my lady, the tabernacle of the law of the God of Israel, the holy and heavenly Zion. Now I am the slave of my God, and I am not a free man. I do not serve according to my own will, but according to his will. And this speech of mine springeth not from myself, but I give utterance only to what he maketh me to utter. Whatsoever he commandeth me that I do, wheresoever he wisheth me to go, thither I go. And whatsoever he teaches me that I speak, that concerning which he giveth me wisdom I understand. For from being only dust he hath made me flesh, and from being only water he hath made me a solid man, and from being only an ejected drop, which shot forth upon the ground would have dried up on the surface of the earth, he hath fashioned me in his own likeness, and hath made me in his own image. 27. Concerning the laborer. And as Solomon was talking in this wise with the queen, he saw a certain laborer carrying a stone upon his head, and a skin of water upon his neck and shoulders, and his food and his sandals were tied about his loins, and there were pieces of wood in his hands. His garments were ragged and tattered. The sweat fell in drops from his face, and water from the skin of water dripped down upon his feet. And the laborer passed before Solomon, and as he was going by, the king said unto him, Stand still. And the laborer stood still. And the king turned to the queen and said unto her, Look at this man. Wherein am I superior to this man? And in what am I better than this man? And wherein shall I glory over this man? For I am a man and dust and ashes, who tomorrow will become worms and corruption. And yet at this moment I appear like one who will never die. Who would make any complaint against God if he were to give unto this man as he had given to me? And if he were to make me even as this man is? Are we not both of us beings, that is to say men? As is his death, so is my death. And as is his life, so is my life. Yet this man is stronger to work than I am. For Yahuwah giveth power to those who are feeble, just as it pleaseth him to do so. And Solomon said unto the laborer, Get thee to thy work. And he spake further unto the queen, saying, What is the use of us, the children of men, if we do not exercise kindness and love upon earth? Are we not all nothingness, mere grass of the field, which withereth in its season and is burnt in the fire? On the earth we provide ourselves with dainty meats, and we wear costly apparel. But even whilst we are alive, we are stinking corruption. We provide ourselves with sweet scents and delicate unguents. But even whilst we are alive, we are dead in sin and in transgressions. Being wise, we become fools through disobedience and deeds of iniquity. Being held in honor, we become contemptible through magic and sorcery and the worship of idols. Now the man who is a being of honor, who was created in the image of Yahuwah, if he doeth that which is good, becometh like Yahuwah. But the man who is a thing of nothingness, if he committeth sin, becometh like unto the devil, the arrogant devil, who refused to obey the command of his Creator. And all the arrogant among men walk in his way, and they shall be judged with him. And Yahuwah loveth the lowly minded, and those who practice humility walk in his way, and they shall rejoice in his kingdom. And blessed is the man who knoweth wisdom, that is to say, compassion and the fear of Yahuwah. And when the queen heard this, she said, How thy voice doth please me, and how greatly do thy words and the utterance of thy mouth delight me. Tell me now, whom is it right for me to worship? We worship the Son according as our fathers have taught us to do, because we say that the Son is the King of the gods. And there are others among our subjects who worship other things. Some worship stones, and some worship wood, i.e. trees, and some worship carved figures, and some worship images of gold and silver. And we worship the Son, for he cooketh our food, and moreover he illumined the darkness and removeth fear. We call him our King, and we call him our Creator, and we worship him as our God. For no man hath told us that besides him there is another God. But we have heard that there is with you, Israel, another God, whom we do not know. And men have told us that he hath sent down to you from heaven a tabernacle, and hath given unto you a tablet of the ordering of the angels by the hand of Moses the prophet. This also we have heard, that he himself cometh down to you, and talketh to you, and informeth you concerning his ordinances and commandments. 28. How Solomon gave commandments to the queen. And the king answered and said unto her, Verily it is right that they, i.e. men, should worship God, who created the universe, the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land, the sun and the moon, the stars and the brilliant bodies of the heavens, the trees and the stones, the beasts and the feathered fowl, the wild beasts and the crocodiles, the fish and the whales, the hippopotamuses and the water lizards, the lightnings and the crashes of thunder, the clouds and the thunders and the good and the evil. It is meet that him alone we should worship in fear and trembling, with joy and with gladness, for he is the Lord of the universe, the Creator of angels and men. And it is he who killeth and maketh to live. It is he who inflicteth punishment and showeth compassion, who raiseth up from the ground him that is in misery, who exalteth the poor from the dust, who maketh to be sorrowful and who maketh to rejoice, who raiseth up and who bringeth down. No one can chide him, for he is the Lord of the universe, and there is no one who can say unto him, What hast thou done? And unto him it is meet that there should be praise and thanksgiving from angels and men. And as concerning what thou sayest, that he hath given unto you the tabernacle of the law, verily, there hath been given unto us the tabernacle of the God of Israel, which was created before all creation by his glorious counsel. And he hath made to come down to us his commandments, done into writing, so that we may know his decree and the judgment that he hath ordained in the mountain of his holiness. And the queen said, From this moment I will not worship the Son, but will worship the Creator of the Son, the God of Israel. And that tabernacle of the God of Israel shall be unto me my lady, and unto my seed after me, and unto all my kingdoms that are under my dominion. And because of this I have found favor before thee, and before the God of Israel my Creator, who hath brought me unto thee, and hath made me to hear thy voice, and hath shown me thy face, and hath made me to understand thy commandment. Then she returned to her house. And the queen used to go to Solomon, and return continually, and hearken unto his wisdom, and keep it in her heart. And Solomon used to go and visit her, and answer all the questions which she put to him. And the queen used to visit him and ask him questions, and he informed her concerning every matter that she wished to inquire about. And after she had dwelt there 6 months, the queen wished to return to her own country, and she sent a message to Solomon, saying, I desire greatly to dwell with thee. But now, for the sake of all my people, I wish to return to my own country. And as for that which I have heard, may God make it to bear fruit in my heart and in the hearts of all those who have heard it with me. For the ear could never be filled with the hearing of thy kingdom, and the eye could never be filled with the sight of the same. Now it was not only the queen who came to hear the wisdom of Solomon, but very many used to come from cities and countries, both from near and far. For in those days there was no man found to be like unto him for wisdom. And it was not only human beings who came to him, but the wild animals and the birds used to come to him and hearken unto his voice and hold converse with him. And then they returned to their own countries, and every one of them was astonished at his wisdom and marveled at what he had seen and heard. And when the queen sent her message to Solomon, saying that she was about to depart to her own country, he pondered in his heart and said, A woman of such splendid beauty hath come to me from the ends of the earth. What do I know? Will Yahuwah give me seed in her? Now, as it is said in the book of Kings, Solomon the king was a lover of women, and he married wives of the Hebrews and the Egyptians and the Canaanites and the Edomites and the Iyaboyama, Moabites, and from Riph and Kruger and Damascus and Sorest, Syria, and women who were reported to be beautiful. And he had 400 queens and 600 concubines. Now this which he did was not for the sake of fornication, but as a result of the wise intent that Yahuwah had given unto him, and his remembering what Yahuwah had said unto Abraham. I will make thy seed like the stars of heaven for number, and like the sand of the sea. And Solomon said in his heart, What do I know? Peradventure, Yahuwah will give me men children from each one of these women. Therefore, when he did thus, he acted wisely, saying, My children shall inherit the cities of the enemy, and shall destroy those who worship idols. Now those early peoples lived under the law of the flesh, for the grace of the Holy Spirit had not been given unto them. And to those who lived after Messiah, Christ, it was given to live with one woman under the law of marriage. And the apostles laid down for them an ordinance, saying, All those who have received his flesh and his blood are brethren. Their mother is the church, and their father is Yahuwah. And they cry out with Messiah Christ, whom they have received, saying, Our Father who art in heaven. And as concerning Solomon, no law had been laid down for him in respect of women, and no blame can be imputed to him in respect of marrying many wives. But for those who believe, the law and the command have been given that they shall not marry many wives, even as Paul saith, Those who marry many wives seek their own punishment. He who marrieth one wife hath no sin. And the law restraineth us from the sister-in-law in respect of the bearing of children. The apostles speak concerning it in the book of Counsels.